Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm your host, Marisa B, and today I have with me artist, author, teacher, Jo Jayson. Hi, Jo. Thank you so much for coming today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, the first question I have to ask is, how long have you been involved in art?
Um, well, I've always been, I guess I've always been I've always drawn. I was drawing and painting from the age of 7, so I've always been involved in it. But professionally, I started out as a muralist um, in London and did a few murals when I moved to Sydney in Australia. And then when I came here to New York, I was doing murals for the first 10 years I was here. Came in 99. And then I moved to my own paintings probably around 2007 and started with my Chakra series. It was called the Goddess Chakra painting series. And I was getting very interested in learning about healing with the chakras. Um, and they kind of just flew out of me, and that sort of laid the path for me to start teaching about the chakras. And that kind of started me on this path that I've been on now since then. And then later down the line, I started the Sacred Feminine series,
Mhm.
which took about 7 years to complete. There were
Wow.
13 paintings of 13 archetypes, feminine archetypes. And I received a lot of messages with them and created a oracle deck, a small oracle deck, and which then later sort of progressed into a book. And I self-published the book, and then a couple of years later, got picked up by Schiffer Publishing. So they published the book now.
What's
So
the title of the book? What's the
the book
title
is
of the book?
called Self-Love Through the Sacred Feminine. And
Oh, lovely.
it's a guide to self-love and healing through the lessons of these 13 sacred feminine archetypes. Um,
Now, I have a question. What type of media do you work in?
I use oil, water-based oil. So it's an oil, but it's water-based. So it doesn't have all the fumes and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I use that. I'm an oil painter.
And it's funny that you said that you started as a muralist
Mm,
because murals are large, and I've
mm,
seen a lot of your work, and I would have thought that you were a portrait artist because
mm.
you do such phenomenal portrait work.
Thank
Uh,
you. Well, yeah, and I always wanted to do portrait painting, but I kind of fell into in the late 90s when I was living in London. I started working for a designer called Jocasta Innes, um, um, and with a group of other people, and we were doing faux finishing and trompe l'oeil and all these
mhm.
different paint techniques that were very popular at that time, and which then sort of progressed into murals. So that I kind of just fell into that, but I loved doing that. And I loved doing it when I got here. I was doing it for a lot of show houses
Mhm.
in New York and Connecticut. But it was really hard on my body. There was a lot, scaffolding and ladders and
Yes.
stuff. And after a while, it just gets too hard. It gets, as you get older, it gets too difficult. Um, but I also went through a divorce, and that kind of was the catalyst for a lot of self-reflection and healing. And I guess I was searching for for something else, and that kind of spurred on my own paintings and took me down a completely different path.
And of course, I mean, and of course, the portraits because I've seen the portraits that you've done of, I don't want real people,
Mm.
people in on this planet, but the portraits that you do of the chakras with the women and of course the goddesses, they're
They are,
phenomenal. Do you use a model because they
so
are
I
real? They
do.
breathe. You
Yeah.
do. Okay.
Yeah. So, well, I use a combination sometimes of different images. So I get for those paintings and for the Sacred Feminine series, I would receive the image. Um, and somehow the right person or the right images would just
Mhm.
fall on my lap. It was very kind of meant. And so the process of creating the image and getting the pose that I was seeing and getting the look that I was seeing actually came very easy to me. It just seems to have been handed to me. So they were painted. So a lot of those paintings, some were models that I met, asked them to pose for me. And then other times they were just combinations of different images to try and get what I was seeing in my head. Um, and some of them would, kind of fly out of me very quickly, like within a week. Um, and sometimes they would take months and months, depending on the
Mhm.
energy of who I was painting. So yeah, so it was a process, it was a long process, and I'm a very slow painter. Um, so it was a long journey. It was a long
I
journey.
did read that. I did read that somewhere that you made a comment that you are a very slow painter and that you do take your time.
I do, and well, it's always really exciting when a painting comes really quickly and then it's done. I've had like that happen maybe 3 or 4 times when I think the quickest time was my Kali Ma painting, which is one of my sacred feminine images. That took me 5 days.
Oh, wow.
But other times it can take like 3 months or something. So depends. Um, but yeah, no, the models definitely were used. I need, but just in the way that I paint, I'm quite realistic in many of my
Yes.
physical the way I physically represent something. So I kind of needed some reference from what I
Mhm.
was seeing. Yeah, yeah,
Now, I do want to ask you a little bit about the business of art because, of course, we're recording this and I want to put some of your pictures in the show
right.
so the audience can see, but yours are very well stamped with your copyright. And I do want to speak about that because though I'm not an artist, I think that it's horrendous that artists' work are being stolen
Mm,
and used for other things. And
mm,
I know that you had that happen to you quite often.
yes.
And you've actually initiated some sort of cease and desist
Hmm.
and some sort of lawsuit. Um,
Hmm.
I, I want to talk a little bit about that because I just find this terrible that an artist's work all of a sudden, and this happened to me personally. I have a friend that's an artist that lives in Israel.
Mm,
And one day I was looking online and I saw her artwork on
mm,
someone's t-shirt. And I was in such shock
right. That's
that I
terrible.
contacted her. I
Mm.
actually contacted her. I said, "Oh my gosh, I have to tell you this. I see your artwork, and it's her artwork is very distinct." I
And
said,
she
"Your
knew
artwork's
nothing
on
about
someone's
it.
shirt." She no, what she said to me is though she didn't know that this had occurred on a t-shirt, but she says it happens quite often, and it's very difficult to try to go after
Yes.
people because they can shut down easily and then start up again with other names and other
Right.
businesses.
Well,
And
there is that. Yeah, there is that for sure. No, it's a minefield. I've had this happen at least 4 times. Um, so, your image that you post on social media of your work, this goes for all artists,
mhm,
in the very early days, it didn't have my watermark on. In the very early days, I didn't know what I was really doing, and I didn't
mhm.
really know very much. It was sort of the beginning of the internet world for me. And so there was a lot of images out there that didn't have my watermark. But um, and you know, obviously people who follow my work, they want to share it, and I encourage them to share it. And I think that's, you know, all artists want their
Hmm.
works shared, but they also want it shared with a credit.
Hmm.
On many occasions, you know, my work has been shared with no credit. And that's not terrible. There's no copyright infringement there. It's just that I think all artists, no matter whether you're a visual artist or a musician or whatever craft that you have, you know, we all want some credit for it because we're not doing it for free,
Hmm.
right? We
Right.
want some credit. So just some recognition that it's ours is the first thing. But I've had someone go on to an interior designer actually in London, a well-known one, who went onto my Etsy shop, um, saw an image that she liked. And rather than paying for a print or a reproduction of the
Mhm.
image, she downloaded the image and printed it herself onto a canvas,
Wow.
cropped it, printed it out onto a canvas, and put it on in one of her sort of showrooms that she had decorated, and then put that on her website with
Wow.
my painting there. Yeah. So that was a huge copyright infringement because not only had she stolen, not only had she used it without permission,
Hmm.
but she'd stolen my work and reproduced it herself.
Right.
So yeah, that was that. I think that was probably the worst one. And then I had another one who was copying my paintings and passing them off
As
as her
as their
own.
own. Yeah.
Yeah. And on both occasions, yeah, there was a resolution and I didn't have to go to court.
Hmm.
I would have done. I would have
Well,
done.
the thing is that, I mean, there's licensing, and you can license
Which
if
I
you
do.
agree with a
I do.
contract,
I
right? With
do.
a contract, but to like this friend of mine, that this was commercial use on
Right.
products that
Commercial
people were
use.
selling,
Right.
selling products
Well,
with her artwork on.
I had that also on Etsy where people were using images of my Bridget painting and
Yes,
putting them. Yes, I'm putting
because
them.
it is famous. Yes.
Yeah, I'm putting it. I'm making a product with the image on it.
Yes.
And Etsy actually closed that shop down. Um, and Whenever somebody wants to use any of my images for business purposes on their website to promote their business in any way, um, you know, usually people will email me and ask permission, and I give them a license
Hmm.
contract and charge a fee for that.
Hmm.
Uh, but you know, there are those that don't, and you can't monitor it. You can't monitor everybody you just have to rely on people who
Yeah.
find it and tell you,
Yes.
and you have to decide whether it's worth tackling or not.
It's, I know because it is a business and it is very difficult. I mean, I'm a stickler for this because even with my social media, and there are platforms that provide free, even photographs, but I still pay them
Right,
by donation because I believe
right,
that it's their work. So even though
right,
they have it out there
right,
for free, I'm going to use it. I still donate to them because it is their work. And
right.
I feel much better for doing that, but I know many people don't. And it's difficult, an artist making a living when they have to watch where all their artwork is going out there being
Incredibly difficult
utilized.
making a living, and you know, I've always had to supplement it with other work, but the you know, not just that, you know, to use someone else's creativity
That's
and
right.
profit from it in some way, you know, whether you're using it to promote your own workshop on your website or
Mhm.
whether you're putting it on a flyer, you know, I've seen that happen. I've
Mhm.
walked past places and I've seen my image on a flyer,
Oh
um,
my gosh.
and then you know, to promote someone else's business. Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, it's just common courtesy and an understanding also that all artists are not doing this for free. That this isn't a
Right.
charity that I'm, giving my work to the world for
Mhm.
free. We need something back at the
Right.
very
Oh,
least. At
exactly.
the very, very least, a credit.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. I mean, oh, absolutely. Yeah, well,
yeah,
even in the ones that I use that have been out there for free, I still credit the individual, not only
right,
donate to them, but credit their name. That's
right,
their work.
right, which is
And
really nice.
I
Yeah,
feel privileged that I can use it, that they have allowed the public to use it.
right.
So I feel that it should be known. But I want to ask you now with your work, do you do shows? Because there are artists that do shows and there are artists that do not do shows.
So, I my work from the get-go had a spiritual slant. Um, And so I did try very early on doing mainstream art exhibitions and failed miserably because my audience just wasn't there.
Hmm.
My work was very niche. It's becoming less niche a little bit, but it's at the time it was very niche and it just wasn't where my audience was. So eventually I sort of realized this and I
Hmm.
started to do a lot of mind, body, spirit shows where I would get a big booth and show my work and sell my products that came from the images. Um, and I did that for years, and I was doing
Hmm.
at least one or two a month,
Hmm.
traveling all over the country doing that, which also was exhausting, but it did create a lovely following for me.
Hmm.
The people that resonated with the work that I was doing at that time they found me and, connected with me on social media, and then they shared my work, and then more
Hmm.
people of like mind. And so, then I was on the right path. But at the beginning, I didn't really know where I fitted in. Um, so yes, so the answer is yes, that I used to do lots and lots of mind body metaphysical
Hmm.
shows where my work kind of resonated with the audience, and then I stopped doing those just during COVID.
Hmm.
Um, those also became, quite hard for me to
Yes.
all the time. They were exhausting too.
Mhm.
So
But you
um,
teach, you also teach.
I
You also
teach.
teach and
Well,
you
I
do
wear so
large
many.
courses.
I
Yes,
wear
right.
so
People,
many. Yeah. So
yes.
I teach. I teach. I teach lessons from my book. I teach courses from my book.
Hmm.
I've had retreats, healing retreats, self-development retreats. I've taught online for years now. I'm actually still doing that now,
Hmm.
but I also teach art as well, conventional drawing and
Hmm.
painting too in my local area. So I
Hmm.
also do that. So I wear many, many different hats trying to make it all work.
But it's always in the art, but it's always in the art
Yeah,
world
it is.
with
It
art.
is, and the art and spiritual world, and
Hmm.
um, this, how it happened was that as the paintings sort of were created, the messages and the lessons that were attached to them were so obvious, the messages that I received. And so it went hand in hand that when I would paint a series or anything really, I would have something to teach about it, a lesson or wisdom or a
Hmm.
message of which always pointed to some kind of empowerment or healing. So that's what I did, and that's how I didn't set out to do that at all, but it just kind of unfolded like that, and obviously was meant to be like that. Um,
And you've done, I know you've done workshops. You actually teach at Omega Institute,
I taught at
which is a
Omega.
very large
Yeah, I taught
institute
at
on the East
Omega.
Coast.
Yes, it's I believe it's one of the biggest spiritual
Yeah.
healing centers, and it's an institute really in the United States. I think the other one
Hmm.
is in California,
Hmm.
in Esalen. Um, Yeah, I taught there this summer, which was great. And I taught um, painting your own sacred feminine that you have within you.
Hmm.
So that was fun, and I've not done that before. That was a different approach to my work that I hadn't done before.
Hmm.
And that was great. It was great. It was great doing that. Yeah, so some things of my path have slowed down and other things have sort of taken their
Hmm.
place. But no, I love teaching. I think it actually teaching invigorates me more than actually the painting does, believe it or not. It does. The painting can be quite heavy for me, and that's why probably why it takes me so long. But the teaching energizes me. It
Hmm.
does. Yeah, I like
I
it.
could see that. I could see that happening. And now I know you mentioned you had an Etsy shop. So how do people get a hold of you? Because of course you do courses. So something like Omega Institute, people who would go online to Omega, or they get the catalog annually, they'll see
Mm.
those courses. But how does one get the teaching classes with you or buy your work? Because I know you also do portrait work that people can actually commission you for a portrait
I
as
do. You
well.
can, yep, I do commissions. I do all kinds of commissions. Um, and I usually do, try and keep it to one or two a year. But the best way is to get on my mailing list.
Mhm.
So to go to my website, which is jojayson.com, and get sign up for my newsletters, because all of my classes and everything that
Mhm.
I offer will be in the newsletter. You'll be the first people to know. Or follow me on social media, and that's the other way.
Well,
Uh,
I'll be placing all of that in the description. So I'll put
yeah,
all that in the description below the video, of where they can reach you, the
right.
website, all the social media platforms, so that everyone can see. And of course, you do have an Etsy shop still,
I have an
so
Etsy
I will
shop.
list
I will
that.
continue. Yes, I also do readings. I also do intuitive readings. I don't advertise for that because it's all word of mouth, really. But
Mhm.
it's another thing that I do, that you can go to my website and sign up for readings with me, which I also used to do at the shows. People have met me through those
Mhm.
readings and followed me since. So that's another thing that is on offer. Um, and yeah, my book, you can get it via Etsy, a signed copy through me, or you can also get it on Amazon or in various
Okay.
bookstores around the country.
Because that's what I was going to ask you, because you also have oracle cards.
I have an Oracle deck.
Deck,
It's
right.
a small deck. It's only 13 cards. It's based on the images in the book. And it partners well with the book, but you don't need to
Hmm.
have it with the book. Um, yes, and I know that my publisher also is waiting for me to finish my present series,
Hmm.
which is the Zodiac series.
Yes.
Um, and then eventually we'll be doing a very big deck together.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, if I could, I just need to finish it, which takes me a long time.
Now,
Yeah.
what's your preference? Is it working intuitively or doing the portraits?
Well, the portraits have really come very easily to me. Um, I do love doing the portraits. I do them in paint. I do them in as drawings or paintings, pastels.
Hmm.
So I can, the portraits are kind of easy and light for me. My paintings tend to have a lot more angst with me doing them. I don't know why. I struggle with them a lot more. Um, there's a lot more to them than just a portrait. That's probably why. So
Hmm.
um, I like it both, but I always find like if somebody just wants me to commission me a portrait, then that's nice and easy for me to do.
Now, do you do it by people sitting or by photograph?
Yeah, I only do it by photograph. I'm a studio
Photograph.
artist, yeah. I used to take a lot of different photographs,
Yes.
or ask for lots of different photographs, and then kind of combine them or choose the right one. Um, but yeah, no, I wouldn't have someone sit with me. I wouldn't like that, and I don't know how a sitter would
think the
like that.
people have
Yeah, it was
time,
just
right? It's
awkward. Yeah, I don't know how.
those days, those days are no longer available,
No,
right? So
no,
many people are
I would
busy.
hate that. I love to paint in private, which is always is a problem now in on
Mhm.
social media because so many artists now are constantly, doing videos and reels of
Yes.
themselves painting. And I find that I do it sometimes, but I find that quite difficult because um, I do like to be very private when I'm painting.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. That's just my age. I don't know.
Mhm.
Just a
So
different generation.
can people find those videos online? Do you have a
The
YouTube
videos, the videos are
channel
on my
or?
social media. Yeah, there's
Oh,
videos of
okay.
me painting on social media. There's little reels of a painting
Right.
in progress or something like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
they're all over on Facebook and Instagram. Um, but I guess I miss those days. I mean, social media has been fantastic for artists.
Hmm.
It's really has. It's completely changed the way artists sell their work
Yes.
and promote their work. It's been incredible. But at the same time, there's this pressure also to be constantly producing stuff and
Hmm.
constantly showing your process as well. And I think a lot of the
Hmm.
younger artists are very used to that, but I'm not. So
Right.
I find it a bit of a struggle with that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it is true that the younger people are more in
Yeah,
front of the
it's
camera,
nothing.
right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
more
they
used to the
don't care.
camera.
Yeah,
That's their life.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so I said that was a little bit of a challenge for me. But you do what you can and hope for the best,
Mhm. Now,
really.
do you have your artwork on products?
I used to do a lot more products. I used to do oils, chakra oils, and used to have my goddess chakra images on
Hmm.
each of the oils. I used to do goddessy, sacred feminine oils as well. I used to do candles, with the images on. There was a
Hmm.
lot of things like that, and jewelry as well. And it all became a little bit too much to
Hmm.
deal with, particularly as I started to paint more and more paintings.
Hmm.
The products seemed to overtake the work in a way.
Yes.
I stopped all of it and just focused on the images and the prints and the
Mhm.
reproductions, so the paintings. So a lot more that I used to do in the past, I don't do now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so they're not on, you're
They're
not
not
an
on
artist that
t-shirts.
puts your right t-shirts and handbags and
No, and also my images, I think that works really well if your work is a little abstract or not
Mhm.
so representational like mine is. Um, Particularly figures and faces don't look great
Mhm.
necessarily on clothing, or
Mhm.
they just it doesn't lend itself right to that. Um, so no, I didn't do that. I thought about it, but I didn't do it.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people have done it. It's worked for them, but I haven't done that. So now I just, really focus on um the different series of paintings and the book and the Oracle deck really are my main products
Now,
now.
how does one work with that? Because you're doing series that are more maybe in the spiritual realm or more in the mystical realm. Do
Hmm.
you sell the original artwork or do you keep that yourself and then use that for?
No, I've been very, very, very blessed to have sold pretty much most of my paintings. I think I have two left
Mhm.
that haven't sold. Um, and I've painted probably, which doesn't sound a lot to some artists, but it's a lot for me, probably about 60 paintings, I would say.
Mhm.
So I think I've done really well, and I've sold them either at a show or I've sold them through social media and then people
Mhm.
following me. So yeah, so I'll paint the painting. The painting hopefully will get sold, but the image,
Mhm.
the file gets used to
Yes.
create prints and reproductions
Mhm.
or wall hangings or cards of that image. So
Mhm.
um, there's always that, whether I sell the original or not,
Mhm.
there's always going to be reproductions and prints
All right.
available for the image. Yeah. And some images are more popular than others. There's some
Yes.
images that constantly sell, constantly
Hmm.
every week, um, which is interesting. And
Yes, that
another,
is right. That is
it
very
is.
interesting to see
Yeah,
what
which
does sell.
right, right. And the one that sells the most is this image of grandmother spider, which
Hmm.
which is the last one of my Sacred Feminine series.
Hmm.
Um, and and actually I was about to rip it up.
Wow.
Before I showed it to people, I wasn't happy with it, and it was my
Hmm.
son who persuaded me not to, and it turned out to be my most popular image.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's interesting. It
You
is
can never
interesting.
predict. Yeah, you never predict.
And
Yeah.
I would have thought maybe Bridget would have been.
She was definitely
Yeah.
popular, but Grandmother Spider just has sort of overridden all of them.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so it's really fascinating as to why. I don't know
Yes.
why.
The
Um,
psychology behind it.
the psychology
Yeah,
behind. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to definitely now look at
yeah,
that particular
yeah,
piece of artwork and see
yeah.
if I see why. That's interesting. And now where do you go from here? Because you do so many things and you you've confessed that you don't paint rather quickly. So do you have like another series, another set? Does it just come to you inspirationally?
Well, I'm in the middle of, I started the Zodiac series. I think I started it in 2018. Um, and I'm still doing it because
Mhm.
there's 12 of them. So I think I have five more to do. Um, and my hope is that in the next 3 years, I'll get them all done. And maybe there's another book that's waiting for me to do
Mhm.
from that. But after that, I am slowing down on a lot of things. So I would like just to paint for myself a little bit too.
Mhm.
I don't feel like I have that time or that luxury to do that.
Yes.
Not that I love painting what I do, but I'd love to start doing some landscapes and stuff like that,
Mhm.
just for me, and
Mhm.
see how they go. I'm not a landscape painter, but I'd like to try. So, things like that.
Mhm.
Um,
How large are the paintings that you do?
They,
How large are they,
they're
the ones
around, well,
that
the Chakra series was smaller. They were 18 by 36. And then the Sacred Feminine, they were big. They were 24 by 48. And then the Zodiac is a little smaller, 24 by 36. So they're not small, but they're not massive either.
Mhm.
They're sort of somewhere in the
How do you decide that? Or was that decided for you just intuitively?
uh how did I decide that? Just Um, well, the Sacred Feminine, the 24 by 48 was so big. Also, there was not a standard size, so people always had to
Mhm.
get custom frames made for them.
Mhm.
And I think that also was an element of to why I chose a 24 by 36, which is a standard size. Um, standard ratio. So that probably was why it just made it easier for the customer to get frames, particularly,
Mhm.
when they're smaller. So yeah, but I'm not a small painter. I'm a big painter. So
Mhm.
um, but I'd like to try all sorts of things, but just haven't had that luxury of
Mhm.
time or, that place where I can just paint freely for myself
Mhm.
and experiment. I
I
haven't had that.
I ask these questions as a non-artist because
Yeah.
I always wonder, I mean, the artist should be painting for the artist,
Well, I think I do. I mean,
him or
yeah, no,
herself,
they are.
right?
Well, I do. They are paintings of course, but I'm
But
certainly
then
not
there is the
painting for anybody
business,
else.
right?
But
There's business.
there's that when you start a series, you have to finish it. So,
Right. But I'm
so
thinking like as a business, what do you,
yeah.
because
Well,
that's how
I
I'm
feel
thinking. I'm a little black and white and I'm thinking, well,
yeah.
do they make it because they know, like if it becomes a book, how that there's a lot behind all of this, the
Yeah, I mean,
cards, the oracle cards.
yeah, no, I always wanted to do the so for example, the Sacred Feminine. No, that just came out. It just
Mhm.
came out and unfolded, and it became a book. It just was like the carpet rolled out for me. I didn't really plan any of it, and I didn't even know how many I was going to paint at the beginning. But the zodiac I always wanted to tackle, and I started it, and it was successful.
Mhm.
And so then I did the next zodiac sign, and then I did the next zodiac sign. And then, I'm in the middle of it. Then, and then now I've got to do all of them. You know what I mean? I
Yes.
can't just do, I just do
Right.
three. So, so no, I love doing it. I just, because it takes, I'm doing all these other things. I teach, art every day
Mhm.
at the moment. There isn't that much time for me to paint.
Mhm.
So I don't feel like I would feel guilty if I just was painting without a purpose, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Painting without a direction. I mean, I'm looking forward to be able to do that one day, but it's not right now.
Right.
Not right now. Yeah. So,
What do we say in retirement, right? In
well,
retirement, people will
retirement when
take
I
up.
when maybe, um we're in that kind of space where I don't have to. I think when you're an artist and when you're self-employed, you're constantly hustling, and it
Yes.
can be exhausting. You have to, because nobody's hustling for you, nobody's selling
Yes.
your stuff for you, so you have to do it all the time. It's constantly on
Hmm.
your mind. And that's why sometimes I take long breaks, because it
Hmm.
just becomes tiring. I'm sure
Hmm.
there are many self-employed artists
Oh,
out there
yes.
that understand that, where it
Hmm.
just becomes you feel like you're on a treadmill of constantly trying to generate business or generate
Hmm.
interest, or keep yourself relevant with your
Hmm.
followers. So I'm looking forward to the time when I
Hmm.
when I have a little space where I don't have to do that.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it's true. Because that is very valid, because we're in a system that perhaps we may not want to be in, but it's been
Right,
there and
right.
we're
And
in it.
also, when I first started my work, this kind of work, there weren't that many others like me
Mhm.
out there, and there weren't that many people teaching either the subjects that I was
Mhm.
teaching. Um, and so I was a little before my time. Now
Mhm.
it's oversaturated with this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And it's a lot more energy
Mhm.
spent trying to keep yourself relevant in that
Right.
industry, in that mindset. So for people to listen to you and hear you and want to follow you, want to come to your classes, and etc. So
Mhm.
it's different now than it was when I first started, for
Mhm.
sure.
And so now you mentioned your newsletter. And so I will put that information, make sure you can get on the newsletter through the website.
Yes.
And that is more that it actually has a calendar of events that you do. Like, because you
Yes,
mentioned
when
you
I
teach
update it,
online,
when I
right? You teach
update it, yeah.
online.
Yes, I do teach online. And recently I have been well, I just, recently finished a year's course
Mhm.
online about my book. It was a
Mhm.
year's journey of self-love through the sacred feminine, where we had this beautiful group of people online that stayed, working with us through the
Mhm.
entire year. Now I'm doing a few shorter courses. So yeah, there's always something in the works.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you prefer online or in person?
Um, um, I used to prefer in person. I'm getting used to online now. I'm getting used to
Mhm.
Zoom. I'm getting used to doing that. So yeah, I would say I'm okay with either now. I mean, I used to do a lot of lectures as well.
Mhm.
I don't do that as much anymore because I don't do the shows anymore. Um, but either really, I think I could do either. but I always love connecting with people,
Hmm.
and making a difference in some way in their
Right.
lives if I can.
I mean, I
Yeah.
used to be adverse to online. I always thought, especially with the arts, that it would have to be in person. But then I realized you're opening up the world to many, many people that really may not have had that opportunity before.
Right.
And
Well, I'm
that,
I'm I'm
right.
I'm not teaching art online, but I am teaching the subjects of my
Hmm.
paintings
Oh,
online.
okay.
I do chakra courses. We just
Hmm.
started a chakra healing
Hmm.
course, a 7-week course. And like I said, teaching about my book online.
Hmm.
But in person, I teach the drawing and the
So you
paint.
do teach.
I do,
Okay. So that's in person.
yeah, I really do love that. Yeah, I do love that.
Hmm.
It's hard to teach art, drawing, and painting online. I don't know how I would do that. Some people do, but
Right.
I could do that very well. Yeah,
Hmm.
I could do that very well. I'm too much of a hands-on teacher,
Hmm.
so. Uh,
Yes.
but yeah, I think we're all getting used to online stuff now.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
used to
I
be
mean, as I said, I
terrified.
thought that especially with the arts, it was difficult, but I can see how people that are in areas of the world that may not have had that opportunity now do, and that it
Mm.
opens up the
Yes,
world to everyone.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Um, no, the world's changed definitely since COVID.
Hmm.
So, and I used
Yes.
to be terrified of being on camera, terrified of being on a Zoom. The thought of it was horrifying to me. Um, but I'm very used to it. Now I'm
Yeah.
very
I say, listen, you can't, I mean, I had that kind of idea for a fleeting moment. And I'm like, listen, you can't reverse the clock. I just can't do that. This is who and what I am.
right,
So it's either you're either there or you're not, you know?
right. No,
Would
exactly.
that we could reverse the clock. That's what I
Well,
say.
that
Would that
would
we
be
could go
lovely. Yeah,
backwards.
that would be lovely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
To go
would.
back to my 20s. Yes. Wouldn't I love to do that? But no, but this is who and what I am. So whether I like it or not, that's what it is. But yeah, I was myself fearful too, or maybe thinking, that it's only for the young because they're raised on it.
Right, right.
No.
Exactly, exactly. But no, I'm getting definitely more used to it. I'm not so into the whole technical thing
Hmm.
of it all, online stuff.
Hmm.
But I am getting more used to being on camera, so that's a good thing. That's progression.
Yes, it is. That's what I say. So, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're so very
Oh
busy,
no,
and
no.
we had to reschedule a number of times
I
because you
know
are that busy.
life is just is busy, isn't it? I know it's trying to
Yes.
find the right time, but I'm very grateful and thank you for
Oh
asking.
my gosh, thank you. I think it's wonderful. I couldn't wait to have you on. I think your artwork is just phenomenal. And
Oh,
I definitely will put some pictures in, of course, with the watermark because I want to make sure that it's there. But I want to make sure that the audience gets a
right,
chance to see the artwork as well. And I will list everything in the description, everywhere that they can reach you and see what you're doing. And again, Joe, I
great.
thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Marissa. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
And yes, hopefully we'll speak again soon. Thank
Yes,
you.
definitely. Thanks, love.
Bye
Take care.
now.
Bye.